In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to deliver negative feedback as a manager. This is one of the biggest challenges and fears that most managers have, is having to have a difficult, courageous conversation with a team member on their performance. Now, as a point, I try not to call it negative feedback. I prefer to call it feedback on performance. So straight away, I'm taking the negative feelings out of this and the fear, and actually thinking, no, I'm going to provide positive, forward-thinking feedback on performance. So it's a 5-step approach that I have here. First one is make sure that you provide the facts of the situation. Then the impact and the consequence of the situation. Number 3 is discussing and looking at a solution. Number 4 is agree action for what they're going to go and do, or what they need to do next time this occurs. And the 5th one being, thank them for their time. You might find that a bit strange, but you'll see when I get to that, it works really, really well. So you need to provide the facts of their behaviour, not your opinions or assumptions. I think you're not very good at this. I think you've got an issue with this. I think you're lazy. I think you're argumentative. That is your perception of their personality. Don't go there. Talk about facts of their behaviours. Keep it neutral with no blame. Here's some examples. You've been late 5 times in 2 weeks. There's no blame, just facts. The figures sent out to the client are incorrect. There's no blame, it's fact. So make sure you've done your homework before you go and have the conversation to get your facts right. You shouted and used aggressive behaviour in a team meeting this morning. It's not opinion, it's fact. We can now deal with it. You've agreed to complete the report by last Friday and it's still not been delivered, and it's now Monday afternoon. Fact or fiction? It's fact. So, step 1, make sure you've got the facts. Okay, step 2. Now, depending on the experience of the person, you need to discuss what is the impact of their behaviour or actions. You may like to ask them the question, what do you think the impact is? But if they're not particularly experienced, you might like to have to explain it to them. Look, the impact of you doing that has caused us to lose money. The impact of doing that is the client doesn't want to deal with us. The impact of that is, if you're not here, your team have had to step in and deal with your work. Often as managers at this stage, we like to ask, why has that happened? Be careful, because some people are very good at coming up with excuses. Well, it's not my fault. Buses weren't on time. There's too much traffic. I had to do this and I had to do that. And they can come up with lots of excuses. So if you feel your person is going to come up with lots of excuses, don't ask them the why question. Now, if there is a real reason, or it's really out of character in the way they've acted and behaved, yes, I would ask the why question. So just be careful of that why question at this. So that's step 2, ensuring that you've discussed the impact and the consequences of their actions and their behaviours. So step 3 is, okay, we now need to look at a solution. And there again, if they're particularly experienced, I would ask the question, what are you going to do to resolve this? What do you need to do in future? It's the you question. Yeah? So you don't walk out as the manager with the action point, it's the team member that walks out with the action, and they've got to think of a solution. Now, if they're not particularly experienced, you may like to soften it by saying, okay, how can we resolve this next time? So you will work with that person to resolve it. Because if they come up with a solution and you're happy with that, they're more likely to put it into place rather than you telling them what to do and finger pointing. So that's step 3, solution. Whether you ask the you question or the we question, but get them to come up with the answers. So step 4 is agree action. Now, who is exactly going to do what? Are you involved and there's some bits that you need to do? Or is it predominantly their responsibility, and what are they going to go and do? And actually, it's important you keep a record of this. What I often have done in the past and still do is get them to email me their actions and exactly what they're going to do. Then I've got a copy of it for the next time we sit down and discuss it. But what is really important, that's why I often get them to send me an email, is that we're going to set up a follow-up conversation. And I think it's really important that you do say, right, okay, so you're going to go and do that. Well, let's see how you get on, and we'll meet up in 2 weeks' time to see if you've improved. So step 5 is to thank them. And you may think, sorry, they've gone and done these things wrong. It's their actions, their behaviour, their stupidity in certain cases. But just hear me out on that. So we've gone through the process of the facts of the behaviour, the impact of the behaviour, the solution going forward, agree action and a review date. And now what I would just say is just to make sure we finish on a positive. I appreciate this hasn't been a brilliant thing to have to sit and discuss, but I do like the way that you've sat down, you've worked out a solution that you're going to go and do, and I look forward to seeing you working on this, and we've got our catch up in 2 weeks' time. They're less likely to slam the door or the laptop if you're unfortunately having to do this on Teams, which I wouldn't recommend anyway. Always try and do it face to face. And at least you leave parting that they know that this isn't going to just, go away. They've got to perform, they've got to go and put their actions into place, they've got to change their behaviours, and you are going to monitor it. You will gain respect, and people will appreciate that you are dealing with these situations and conversations in a very professional manner. Trust and respect, you need to earn it, and by having these conversations, you will. This video goes hand in hand with 2 other videos. One is having difficult conversations on disengaged people, or what you might class as lazy people. That's one video. The second video that you might like to look at was having courageous conversations. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe, please like, and I'll see you on the next one.